This has Cavs fans fired up. We recently heard from the star players on Media Day. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and of course, Evan Mobley talked about their off seasons, their expectations for the upcoming year, and what it's going to take for the Cavaliers to bring home the Larry O'Brien Trophy for the first time since 2016. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Cavs Digest. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm your host, Darayus Sethna. Before we get into today's video, you know what I need you to do if you haven't done so already. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the Cavs Digest YouTube channel. Gonna pull it up again for you real quick here. Over 2/3 of you who watch these videos are not actually subscribed to our channel, so that's not helping you out, that's not helping us out. So if you want to change that, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our Cavs Digest YouTube channel so you can keep up with all things Cavs. It's more important now than ever that you subscribe because now the news is coming fast and furious and you need to be caught up with it, and we have all the stuff you need to know. So make sure you like this video and subscribe to that Cavs Digest YouTube channel. So let's get into it right away because the Cavs had their annual media day. You know, for some of you who might be a little bit more unfamiliar with the NBA or kind of the media operations of how this all works, the Cavs host a player media day, usually right before training camp. It's a couple weeks before the preseason starts, so most of the time it's at the end of September, and they host it at Rocket Arena and at the Cavs' home arena, downtown Cleveland. All the players, they do photo shoots, as you see here. They do interviews with the media, pretty much all the players. So obviously the core four, but then you'll have, some of the bench players as well. So all the Cleveland media are pretty much there for, mostly local media, some national media, of course, as well. But this is just a great opportunity to hear from the players for the first time since last season, kind of how they're doing, checking up on them before they head to training camp in Florida, and what their expectations are for the upcoming season. So when Media Day hits, you know the season literally is right around the corner. And 2 weeks from today, or actually, no, a week from today, the Cavaliers will have their first preseason game. It'll be a home matchup against the Chicago Bulls. So we're up and running. We're here. We're ready to go for the 25-26 Cleveland Cavaliers season. And three of the core four players I want to talk about. I'll mention Jarrett Allen at the end, but want to talk about Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley, what they had to say, how they're doing, and the storylines kind of surrounding each of these three players, and what they talked about specifically during Media Day. So specifically, getting into Donovan Mitchell first, this is obviously going to be a huge year for him, right? He's entering that age 29-30 season, so he's an NBA player. He's been in the NBA for a while now. This will be year 9 for him, right? Same with Lonzo Ball. They were both in the same draft back in 2017. Feels like ages ago, right? But now these are two guys, especially Donovan Mitchell, who are looking to get over that playoff hump and secure their first title, right? And with Donovan Mitchell, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to start the season with Darius Garland and Max Strus being out. He's really going to be the key focus for the Cavaliers. Of course, Evan Mobley and his development just continuing to ascend, but it's clear right now Donovan Mitchell is still that number one guy for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So there's a lot of responsibility on his shoulders, not only on the court, but off the court as a leader as well. And Donovan Mitchell has proven to be one of the best leaders in the NBA. If you take a look at this quote here when he talked to the media earlier this week, he specifically mentioned that he had a mental shift. A mental shift occurred when he heard about Max Strus going down back in August. And this quote specifically, I made a point to be ready earlier, especially once Max went down. Once I got that phone call, I think within the next 2 days, a mental shift just happened. So, like I said, Donovan Mitchell has always prided himself on being prepared, being ready for the moment. And you can tell this offseason, he emphasized that even more. So once he got that phone call, it was essentially, hey, now I need to take on an even larger burden. And he seems to be ready for that, right? This is someone who's always had the ball in his hands, has always been looked to as that as that, marquee guy, that franchise cornerstone that every NBA team is looking for. So he seems ready, he looks healthy, and I'm really excited to see how he handles this responsibility now of really having to have the ball in his hands more with Darius Garland and Max Strus out. Speaking of Darius Garland, he also talked to the media. Like we mentioned earlier, going to be out, going to miss some time. About 4 to 8 weeks is what the most recent report discussed. Darius Garland will be missing in the regular season. But on the positive note, Garland did speak to the media and discussed the state of his toe, just how he's feeling overall. So going into that quote as well, in Garland stating, it's been a really good offseason, and his doctor has been saying that everything's looking great, and he's happy where he's at right now. So he didn't talk about the specifics of the toe, how he's rehabbing, or really anything like that. Mostly just in general how he's been doing this offseason. So this is obviously positive news for Cavs fans. I think the real question that I have after this quote is, does he feel like he can come back early if he's happy with where he's at right now, or is he still going to stick to the process? Those toe injuries can always be a little bit difficult, but you really never know. But at the end of the day, the health of Darius Garland is going to be critical for this Cavaliers team, especially down the stretch. They need a healthy Darius Garland in the playoffs to be effective and to progress in those further stages in spring. So going into our final player, Evan Mobley also spoke to the media. Pretty much everybody spoke to the media this past Monday. But Evan Mobley had some interesting things to say as well. And for those of you who are longtime Cavs fans, you know that Evan Mobley is not the most maybe emotional, or maybe, or the guy who's not willing to share a ton of, personal information. And he's really more just about getting in the gym, working hard, and really letting his actions do the talking. And that really was the same when he spoke to the media yesterday as well. Going into what Evan Mobley had to say just about his offseason, right? Because, Matt's talked about it, I've talked about it, people within the Cavaliers organization have told the media about it, specifically how much of a jump Evan Mobley made within this offseason, how hard he worked. So we finally got to hear from Evan Mobley himself. And in this quote, he said, in the offseason, I just go hard, try to prepare myself to make that big leap. I know what I'm capable of. I know how good I feel like I can be, and I'm going to strive for that every day. And another thing Evan Mobley discussed with the media is how every offseason he's felt like he's taken a bigger leap, a better step, right? And that's what you want as an NBA player. And it's ultimately led to him being the best that he's currently been since being drafted by the Cavaliers back in 2021, right? And already has all-star nods under his belt, is a defensive player of the year, and should be, within the next few years, a legitimate threat to win the most valuable player award. So for Evan Mobley, this was just great to hear. Again, this is someone who is really not going to be emotional about where he's at. He's more just about, he talked about it with the media. Literally all I did to get stronger was I was in the gym and I worked hard. That's it. That's really the secret. There's nothing fancy about it. And that's what Cavs fans should love about Evan Mobley, that it's simply about the work and the process. There's nothing fancy about any of this. So going into this last little part here, wanted to touch on Jarrett Allen and a quote that he talked about. And Koby Altman, the general manager of the Cavs, has mentioned this a couple of times as well, being in that space of being a championship contender. And Allen talked about that as well yesterday at Media Day. Being in that space, it's definitely exciting. Pressure-wise, I feel like every single season you have to deal with pressure, and I feel like we're becoming more accustomed to that now. The pressure at the end of the day has never been higher for this Cleveland Cavaliers team. Jarrett Allen and company must answer the call this year, and even Donovan Mitchell mentioned it yesterday. It's time. It is time for the Cavaliers to go and get that NBA championship. It's been a few years now where they've hit that playoff wall. Now this is the year where they must, and I repeat, must get over that hump. So wanted to go over what some of the key Cavs players had to say during Media Day. This is always a huge day for the Cleveland Cavaliers, just in media in general. really getting to have in-depth conversations with the players, what they have to say. Obviously, we'll hear what they, nooks and crannies, bits and pieces here and there throughout the season. But Media Day is really awesome to talk about, overall expectations, the offseason process, and the current state of the Cavs. So that's all I have for today's video. Thanks so much again for joining me today. Like I said, make sure you like this video and subscribe to that Cavs YouTube channel. I'll see you again soon for another video here on Cavs Digest. And in the meantime, take care. Thanks, everybody.